like your little notebook too,
I
sir.
need to. Well, I'm switching. It's getting to be like I'm not good at writing anymore with utensils, so I'm switching over to the computer next episode. So.
Sure, whatever you.
I like my notebook too. It's kind of like romantic or something, but I don't know.
It reminds me of I almost said Leonardo DiCaprio's sketches, and then I was like
your French girls.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I'm all mixed up. My coffee's great, guys. We're trying this thing where I trick Wayne into getting comfortable at the top of the show. And he's doing fabulous.
I'm a comfortable man at this point. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a new one. I don't go out very much. For the listeners, it's a thing I got off of one of those websites where people just put up their own designs, and someone did a good job of photoshopping the faces of the Golden Girls onto the bodies of Minor Threat. And these are both things I love, and seeing them combined gave me pleasure. So that's that. And so I don't go out much, and there's always a little tension for me in wearing something for the first time.
Oh, yeah? Not
always, often. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, this is killer. I'm just going to feel good. Sometimes I'm like, I feel self-conscious because of my choice. And I just need to power through it by wearing it, but then I don't go out much. And so
I see,
the show,
yes.
I dress like I'm going out, even though I'm staying in and talking to the wonderful audience. And so that's how that goes. That's part of the story. Is this is like a breaking of a seal, if you will.
Well, I'm very, thank you for breaking that seal with us. I love this shirt. And, you know, it's so funny to hear you say that, is I've always thought you were very stylish and, you know, very confident with it. So I didn't even know that there was any trepidation whatsoever. I love getting to know all of this, Wayne.
I want to talk about this episode of Melrose Place. But first,
he is very uncomfortable.
But first, I'll tell you about, very briefly, that back in my days of doing open mics as a stand-up comedian around LA, at some point I picked up. I just was going to power through it. I'm going to wear a motorcycle jacket sometimes.
Yes.
That not directly related to the stand-up. I wasn't Andrew Dice Clay. It was just that here's my style happening over here, and the influence of stand-up on any man's or maybe person's style at the time, at least, was you had a lot more hoodies.
A lot of hoodies.
It was hoodies. And I think improv is similar, right?
Oh my gosh, there was the uniform. Yeah, it was very. You could spot us very easily.
Short story long. I felt proud of the day when like a comedian I was friendly enough with from the stage, like, oh hey Wayne, love that jacket. Don't you feel like a fraud wearing it? And I was like, yeah. And it's like I had gotten over something because I could admit it. I knew he wasn't being cruel. This was a very nice guy. I'd say his name, but what does it matter?
Yeah, that's. I mean,
anyways,
listen.
So that's me in style. Is like it's
that.
my signature, overthinking. But I just try, I try to look like the guy I'd want to fuck.
Hey, that is a real good segue into this episode.
Speaking of guys I want to fuck.
Because
let's talk about Captain Melrose. So welcome to Melrose Madness officially. Lisa is my wonderful co-host, and I'm Wayne. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm great. Guys, you know what? I had 2 surgeries for a broken arm, and I'm feeling great. My surgeon would be very proud of me because I haven't broken it again. That was my assignment.
I feel like you've been handling it, like when I've seen you handling it. You've been handling it well.
Thank you so much.
In the new year, in the recent times.
I want you to tell him that.
Give me his email, or maybe I don't know if I'm on the same patient portal as you. So we're talking about, this is, you know what Melrose Madness is. You listen, it's fun. We talk about Melrose Place and dive really deep. And so today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 8, Lonely Hearts. And, I mean, there's a singular lonely heart here, but that's why I want to say, Lisa, overall impressions from Season 1, Episode 8 of Melrose Place.
I feel like this attack of Sandy was completely unavoidable for her. She did everything she possibly could to keep this from happening, and every person in her life worked incredibly hard to facilitate this
turning
insanity.
Turning into something she will have traumatizing.
Traumatizing. And I want to point out that, from the jump, this young man is also pushed in the wrong direction at every turn. Any opportunities?
He is encouraged, my friend.
He is encouraged. He's pushed sometimes.
Yeah.
He is told, please come into this home. And, if you invite a vampire into your apartment...
As we all know,
things tend to happen.
Mythos.
But yeah, I mean, Sandy did everything right. Like, she could not have... she couldn't have gotten out of this. But yeah, everyone also pushed him in the wrong... It just felt like... Guys, it is a real time capsule of this is what was considered acceptable on television. So it's
in
very
1992.
mainstream. And they're like, yeah, this is normal. He just really likes you. And she's like, no one's listening to me.
I don't want to be self-conscious, but I'm having that well up a little because
please.
I feel like I was just talking about myself a lot. And I might be inviting as a kind of a reflection on what you were saying.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, as usual, on the mark completely. That this is a microcosm for again, how women ought to be treated, and I don't even feel bad about it because I feel like that was a different person who didn't know better, and hopefully, and I do now. That as a youth, as a teen, certainly I had this romantic notion that was informed by these kinds of messages, yep. Even though the guy's a creep and it's wrong is the point of view of the show, but it's just the path to that is bonkers. But all of which is to say in brief that a few of the attributes that you see in Paul of the idea that he's going to wait Sandy out. Paul's the creep in the Canadian tuxedo. Not to diss Canada, by the way, by associating them with this jerk. That he can wait her out and she'll come around. I've been that guy. Why is this so difficult? Why won't people? It's that entitlement. It's a word that we use a lot on this show. It's a sense of male entitlement as someone who was raised middle class in the Northeast, probably typical of my kind in some ways. So it's and it's a echo chamber of a thing, right? It's the messages, and then it's me responding and thinking that's how to do things and enacting it, so it's happening again. Well,
you're being fed wrong information, and also the older I get and the more I understand people's fixation on this gender binary, that's also part of the problem. Because
thank you.
If you are saying to yourself, I identify as a man, I identify male, so Wayne, now here's my instruction manual for how I'm supposed to interact with people. And if I find a person who matches these physical attributes, because clearly a mutual connection is not a prerequisite. That's not being told to you.
It goes one way, and then you just keep doing it till it works.
Yeah, and also, who knows, if maybe you aren't being told that, you're supposed to fixate on a person who physically looks like this, you may have actually liked somebody else and had a connection with them, except that you're being told this name brand item is the one you should want. And so I think it's really, the thing is with the man, woman, male, female, the problem is that nobody's being an individual. No one's saying to themselves, how does this person make me feel, and how do what's the mutual thing? So it's really more, it's less about placing blame on a single person and more about going, how is this miscommunication happening? Where just two people are miserable. He's miserable and she's miserable. Neither one of them is happy. Even if she did concede to be in the relationship with him, he wouldn't be happy either. So there's no bad guys, there's just suffering and Jake.
So the title of this episode, ladies and gentlemen, is Suffering and Jake.
But
a company that will go together well into the future. Spoilers, no spoilers.
But really, it is about showing how you have to be such a out of the box thinking individual to not fall into these traps. So for someone to see this like you and go, oh my God, I feel really guilty because like I engaged in that behavior. And I'm like, yeah, well, I did too with my white supremacy because I'm white and I live in America, and there were things that I was doing that I wasn't even aware of. So it's not about going back and like, you know, like punishing yourself. It's more about going, okay, well, what am I going to do now that's different? Yeah. And also, how was I being misled? Because like you are being told you're supposed to like have a girlfriend, and you're supposed to like just wait her out, and she's going, hi, I don't want you to do that, and you're going, haha, they told me you would say that. And so it's this thing where everyone's being lied to.
Yeah, I like, so on the I love that you brought in that is the box this is put in of a gender binary. Yeah. But thinking back, the idea of rejecting it, of not that it was impossible to be a thing. I'm sure I was aware of transgender people.
Well, it's not even about.
But it would be nothing that could happen to me. It would be nothing that, it would be inconceivable for me to question that in the context I was in. Suburban, Christmas and Easter Catholic school, light-skinned, seemingly a white man, whatever I am, in a predominantly white. Anyways,
there was no room for a gray area, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like I mean, just I'm trying to put myself in that mindset and be like, the idea that like it could happen to me, I could, you know, is not something. I mean, I have since asked it, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess I'm a guy. That works. Like I have no discomfort in that. And this was telling me how a guy should be, and which is, you know, it's like it's phrase that people say, like the patriarchy like hurts us all. That's what's happening, is to maintain this type of person at the top of the pile. This is what the pile has to be made of.
Well, and I don't know, I didn't even know this, but I literally on Instagram, it was this British game show, and there's this comedian on there, Sandy, I can't remember her name, but she was asking this question, you know, they're doing these trivia questions, and it was asking about the concept of the alpha male in wolf, you know, behavior. That's, the concept of the alpha male in wolf packs was invented. It's not true. Wolf packs do not operate like that.
Always?
That it's a male.
But it's a hierarchy?
And that they operate like that at all. Yeah. That hierarchy upon which so much of this weird toxic masculinity culture, it's all, when you understand that it's all made up and fake, like when you were saying like, oh, the trans thing can never happen to me. It's like, what is trans? What is strictly male and female? Yeah. Like, who knows? Like the problem is that the need to like do the things that you're supposed to do gets everybody going, well, how do I feel? Like, who knows? Maybe a guy might have come through your life who you were like, would have gotten really fixated on and done the same thing to him that you would have done to a girl if you had even known that that was an option for you to feel.
Yes.
And who knows? Maybe that might have played out in a more natural way because you're both doing the same crazy thing. So, you know,
I think you're just pitching like an amazing anti-rom-com to me. Like, basically, if Paul the creep meets Paul the creep and they fall in love.
Yeah, because they're both creeping so hard and they're like, oh, this other person just will not get into me.
Maybe that's the future that we will write for Paul.
We will.
That subsequently he comes to some sort of realization, or it just kind of happens and he realizes it while it's happening. You know, there's a lot to do there.
To quote the late great Whitney Houston, the greatest love of all, you know, is loving yourself.
And in my mind, it's always been about masturbation and, yes, the desire to have a clone that I fuck.
I feel like those are all, I covered that.
So, which is to say that this is another, and I'm going to say dreaded issues episode of Melrose Place. Oh, this is what they're doing. This is what the show's evolving into right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, this is an issue they don't handle particularly poorly, other than, like, in context, they don't handle particularly poorly.
I mean, it's a time capsule. They're really...
Stalking is the issue. Like, I think that it's possible that if you could do a news search, and I might have talked over you.
No, I'm burping. So
it's a good time for me to talk.
So I'm like...
That's bonus material. To actually Be blessed with a belch from Lisa. That's behind a paywall, guys.
You were saying
I think that I don't know if like my question maybe to the listening audience and those who might make a study of such a thing, when wasn't there a point at which stalking was not a concept and people were doing plenty of it, and then it became a concept a little bit, and then at some point it became a thing that you could have awareness of, which is what this episode is a symptom of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like maybe the term stalk, because the thing is, it's always like, I always feel like something becomes a crime once it happens to a rich white person. So this is something that just happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, people be stalking. You know,
yeah, it's a steady state for and within the gender binary within that system,
yeah,
a certain kind of man.
The minute you can marry somebody and you own them, then you're gonna want to try to get them back if they want to leave. So I feel like probably the term, I would guess, like the minute there started to be like celebrities, maybe, because I would feel like that would be the context,
yes,
or something,
yeah, right? Like my sister Sam, right? What? Wasn't that girl? I'm turning to the producer right now for confirmation. I think she has
that stalker that shot the actress that was on My Sister Sam.
That probably was that like the early 70s?
No, it was later than that. It was 80s.
Late 80s. Okay. Well, I feel like Jodie Foster had a stalker.
That's right.
And that was early.
But I feel like that. But he was Hinckley. Yeah, he shot Reagan.
He shot at Reagan.
He shot Reagan.
Did he hit Reagan?
He hit Reagan, and unfortunately he survived. John Hinckley. We can bleep that out if that's weird for me to say, but it's also kind of how I feel.
If Reagan had died, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in. I feel like it is blatantly accurate.
Not certainly in the same way, and like I don't know where the shooting lines up with Reagan being a president who is also entirely senile.
I mean, at that point, we would have had George Bush anyway. So listen, it's all a nightmare. But yes, I feel like the Jodie.
I feel like that didn't even. I think the idea of that being an experience for her might have been missed more than it would be now. How about that? That's hedging in a way, but I think that's what I'm kind of getting at is like, whereas I think the shock of the murder of the actress from My Sister Sam was such that, I mean, it was a punctuation, right? We had a talented young woman, and now she's gone, and it was behind this unhealthy thing that we've not talked much about, but have been doing all along.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, because I think because I feel like the first time it would have been, I do feel like it would have been a Hollywood-based reporting of like a stalking or something, because even like the Black Dahlia, like that was still sensational enough to know that somebody was like hunting and stalking and murdering. But yeah, I'd be very curious to see when that term was used. I
mean, that woman, they've tried to revive her in certain works of art or something, certain literatures, but like she was just a body that was. It's like when the metaphor just also, it was an allegory. She was an allegory for the value of women's lives that she like.
Especially these young Hollywood starlets who would come out here. Because Hollywood really does have, it is interesting. It does make sense that it's Sandy. It's kind of like, it is very.
She is the type.
She's straight up the type.
So it was just to say that Black Dahlia, I think I maybe my understanding may not be deep enough. She was a type and a body, but not a person so much.
Because you know what it is? Okay, when you get famous, but you're not rich yet, people know who you are, but you don't have the level of money to protect yourself from them. Do you know what I mean? It's still.
Can you say that again? Because I think that's really good.
I was thinking that, like, okay, when you.
I don't know if I fully understood it because I was like,
you can be famous.
Hung up on one word, please.
You can be famous without being rich.
True.
Which means you're vulnerable. You're a public person, but you don't have the money or the resources to protect yourself if somebody becomes fixated on you for some reason.
Perfect.
So that's where I think, I don't know, to me, stalking, I think of young Hollywood starlets, so actually Sandy is kind of, but I don't know. People be stalking.
It didn't come to her that way, but it came to her because she looked the part. She looks the part already.
She was on Melrose, and he saw her, and he decided he wanted her.
Yeah. I'm having this feeling now that, like, dragging this back to what actually happened to the episode a bunch, Do you want to do that?
We can do whatever you feel, because the thing that I really okay, I'm going to tell you something that I really enjoyed
Yeah.
about this episode, even though it was stupid.
Yeah.
The Sandy one is so heavy. Allison's could not be stupider, because at
It
this
is.
point they're still figuring out the tone of the show,
Yeah.
and I feel like they're doing like a what was it, a lesson episode with Allison, and then with Sandy. Oh no, I'm sorry, with Sandy, and then Allison's car, as you pointed out, it literally goes nowhere. Nothing happens.
It is like treading water in a fetid swamp. The B-story of this, it is.
I'm sorry, Billy bickering.
Like things are like there is, which is to say there is movement, but nothing changes and it stinks.
Exactly. It's no.
I landed that, guys. I didn't even know that I thought that until I said it.
You stuck it. You stuck that landing. Not slanding.
Roast me down below. So, in world and in this world, I like this one that we've thought about. So Sandy meets Paul out on Melrose, and like in reality, the Melrose Avenue that was the Melrose Avenue then. When does getting picked up on that street ever end well in LA?
I can't imagine.
I mean, neither of us were here in era, but like as young people in LA, like, can you imagine? Like,
I mean, I can't. I don't. I mean, all of
it's
it
just
seems
like
crazy.
rando, weirdo, sure thing. Like, let's, it's.
Well, also, I do think that so much has changed about how people meet each other and technology and all that stuff that it's actually really inconceivable to just imagine like running. Although I say that, and like my fiance tapped me on the shoulder after we hadn't seen each other for like 17 years, so I guess I can't really say that I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, you have a very beautiful story that's very specific where he was not a stranger to you.
Oh, 100%. And then to have, well, this brings the point to me that like this was absolutely going to end badly from the beginning. Sandy sees this guy, isn't really interested. Rhonda is like, but just pushing him.
A woman needs a man, honey.
A woman
Get
needs a man.
on with it.
Oh, and then so they already, Sandy does not want to go on a date with him.
No.
She at every step she's being pushed
Well,
to interact with this guy. So so then that happens, and then I'm trying to remember where do they go from there? Is that when he
did
shows
that
up
old
at
person's restaurant, Angelini's?
Oh my god!
And
they are the youngest people in that restaurant. That is so funny because a lot of times too, I feel like they get the extras to do double duty, and I'm trying to remember if there's a group shot that required a bunch of senior citizens, and I can't. Was there?
A big line, and like towards the end, and it's just all this.
But I mean, did they put them in a different scene as well sometimes in the episode? Because sometimes, you know how like, they're like, sometimes I've noticed there's club scenes where I'm like, everyone went straight from D&D to the club after work. Because the outfits are business cash. So, okay, so there's no reason for the specifically.
Maybe took them to the dealership?
All right,
maybe.
I think we've landed on
hysterical.
another thing where like we're tapping into something the writers or the makers of the show didn't intend, but like it's a statement on Paul as well, right? That was his choice. He meets a beautiful young woman in a very rom-com-y way. They have a meet cute where he suddenly is this stranger offering her hat consultation, and he takes her. That's how he's going to woo her. Is at like a place where fossils eat. And I mean, that's insensitive, but you know what I mean. Maybe
that's where he thought that she'd feel like safe. He's like, look, there's all these old people
He
here.
was setting her up.
I won't hurt you. And she's like, I still don't like you.
Like unconsciously, he knew to send signals. This guy seems harmless enough.
Yeah, I mean...
Not harmless. Seems to possibly live at the nursery at which he works. And he uses to positively terrorize this woman with flowers. It is again, like, almost allegorical.
The flowers in the bed.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking...
break in to do it, though.
Oh, my God.
Big gesture.
Are you doing? That is such a bold... Oh, my God. You are confident. It's like, the thing is, there's no... I just don't know what you think that the reaction is going to be to that.
It's like, oh, he cares this much. Okay.
Like,
it's
Wayne, I'm trying to...
when will this woman relent?
Right?
is the trajectory? And pardon if I'm.
But I just imagine that when you're like picking the lock, what are you thinking to yourself? This feels right. This feels like a thing that a person not supposed to be going to prison would do. Like this doesn't. That's my thing. Is this like these aren't. This is not a spur of the moment blurting out of a feeling. This is a weirdly premeditated thing where you're like, this is gonna work. Also, the first thing I said when I saw those fucking petals was there are aphids all over that damn bed. This man has no idea what my allergy situation is. Just the presumption.
Well, and likewise, producer Ilana pointed out that they probably ought to have drained the pool for water lilies.
I forgot about those damn lily pads. That was another thing. He's just clogging up all the drains in that place. Like, what is wrong with you?
With plant sex organs.
With plant sexual organs. Hey, buddy. Like, this guy is not getting... It's just like... you know those people who, no disrespect, but like people who fall in love with inanimate objects, right?
That's the B-story, ostensibly, and Billy's telling, but go ahead.
Oh my God, you're totally right. Allison is in a relationship with her car, Betsy, and it would be the most basic Betsy.
Not to take you off track with what you were going to say about people who fall in love with inanimate objects.
No, you actually just made her storyline way deeper than I ever could have conceived.
Well, it's in Billy's telling, though. That's a big caveat. But please, inanimate objects.
Well, in this case, the funny thing is I feel like Allison is actually more in tune with what the frickin' car wants than this man Paul is with a woman who is actively telling him,
please no, please go away.
I want. That's the thing is I cannot deal with coy people too, because that's what drives me crazy is like when you're going, hi, I really don't want you in my life, and he's like, ugh, what does that mean? I'm just like, ugh, really?
I see what you're doing there.
You're like, oh, man.
What if there's flowers, though?
But what if I ripped them up and threw them in your bed? How would you feel about that? She's like, I have a nap before my shift, you asshole. I'm so tired.
Well,
smell like shooters.
Maybe in this way, I almost want to dispense with Paul. We come around to... and we will talk about Jake and the emergence of Captain Melrose, as I call it, and
Captain
deserves no lauding at all. But at any rate, it ends up with Sandy having to save Jake after Jake's punched this guy and in trouble, as he ought to be. Even if the guy deserves a punch, it's not a very complex. That's as complex as the situation is. But anyways. He throws at Sandy what I have labeled a proto-incel rant. The whole little I made reference to it earlier as well.
Oh,
where
Paul.
The moment when Sandy's gone in to save Jake and she's like, "Leave me the fuck alone, bro," or
yes.
I figured out a way for there to be consequences, but it takes a lot out of me. I don't care, right? All of that. His excuse for his behavior is that like. You come to the big city and it's so hard, you don't know people and no one says yes and it's like along that line of thinking leads to man stabs woman who doesn't know him. Exactly.
Also, I have a question for you, sir. If the big city is so damn stressful, why are you here? You work at a nursery.
What is he doing?
Like
what are you doing, Paul?
Listen. I came from a small town in Idaho, and I knew that if I wanted to make it in this gardening world, I'd have to conquer L.A., the nursery capital of the world. Like, why are you here?
But this is still also. I don't mean to butt in, but just this is amazing.
But
you can say the same thing about advertising.
100%.
And you have.
Literally, no one who is there needs to be there. Amanda, because spoiler alert. The lady
she's not gonna. That's a great.
The lady
it's a fact.
Has her. She has so many reasons to be hiding out in L.A.
And this is we're on the road to Amanda, guys. Stick with us. It's going to be worth it.
It's a countdown.
It's a countdown.
She gets here.
But yes, Chris, how much trouble would it be if to the extent that this is a visual thing? We'll do a graphic. Can we do that?
I think it's easy. Each episode we can do a countdown to Amanda. It can just
so. By which I mean to say, do you see how we livened up? Like, we're working with some sludge here, some deep patriarch bullshit, like what was acceptable in a time when we were alive and functioning towards romance.
Yeah.
And it's like a fucking bummer. And Amanda were like, oh, that lady,
But
she's
also,
great.
even before Amanda, the thing is, you have to remember that all of these characters, again, hearing what he says, yes, it's coming from a dark place, but then you're going, why are you here? You're saying the city is the problem, and you're growing plants. And obviously, your favorite restaurant appears to be Old People Central. Why do you live in LA? You literally found the only restaurant where everybody's grandma is eating. We are on Melrose, friend.
Although the weird, no, I'm not gonna go with it. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, that's what I think is so funny about the whole thing is he's like bitching and moaning, and it's like, you don't have to even be here. Yes, dating in LA is very crazy, but also like, first of all, you can't treat ladies that way, but also, okay, let's use your excuse. If I'm going to sit in that logic, it doesn't even hold water. Get out of here.
I second that emotion. I love LA, and we'll talk about it some other time.
It's awesome.
It's okay to hate LA. It's okay to not be here. It's okay to not want to be here. Like,
It's expensive
it takes
to be
all
here.
types, and yes, the fact that we got a comfy living room is a privilege in the world.
No, I'm saying he's from somewhere else. I moved here to work in entertainment. You're not
It's a thing you
allowed
can't-
to move here to work in a nursery and go, oh, it's so expensive to be here. Why are you here? You're not from here. It doesn't make sense. He made all this effort, and he's like, oh, the big city. That's my thing is I'm like, okay, if I'm going to just swap problematic things away, then let's actually just talk as humans. That excuse doesn't hold water, sir.
Well, but you are incredibly direct and have an urge toward action. And when you think about it, boy, there's a lot of people who love to be in LA and complain about LA.
I know.
And especially, soon we'll have a New Yorker that's going to help enliven the show in the personage of Joe. Especially, I think,
Oh my God, yes.
yeah. And it's like, it's fine not to be here. I know, like we're actually like losing population, whatever, but like there's still like too many of us, I guess. There are too many of us complaining. How about that? Not that it's not like telling you to shut up, telling you how are we going to make it better.
I think that if you are complaining that the only way you can get a date is by stalking a woman because the city you live in is too difficult, that's when you really need to leave. Oh, this man.
Goodbye to Paul.
Paul.
So yeah, let's talk about Jake's own brand of toxic masculinity, and we broke this down like.
He's pretty simple.
I almost want, you know how Chris talks about like we need to have like a little bit producer Chris is like maybe there should be more, we should have like disagreements.
Yes, let's do it.
It's like I want to ride out this thing where I kind of get a thrill out of Jake's vigilantism.
I know you do.
I want to ride it out, but like you've so thoroughly convinced me and talked me through the steps, and maybe we can get into a little bit of that right now.
I love
so
this.
Functionally, what we're talking about on the show, we don't totally rehash, but just whatever. Jake doesn't leave Sandy, undercut Sandy, blah 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 Sandy. It gets really bad. All of a sudden, he's riding, quote unquote, riding to the rescue, i.e., door dashing a punch over to Paul in the middle of the night.
Well, I would like to ask you a question. To your recollection, does Jake ever help anybody if he doesn't get to punch someone in the face? Has he ever shown up with a casserole?
Let's look out for that. I feel like possibly once.
Maybe.
Almost by accident. But
I think he does have to be tricked into thinking that a punch might be around the corner.
When we were watching this just now together, I was puzzled by Jake's motivations going through, because I was like,
because you have empathy.
Why is he inserted? Okay, the neat thing that producer Ilana and I noticed along these lines. Let's talk about his intro to the story. Listen, guys.
Yes, you're right.
Jake in this episode has become the inverse of the Sandy we met earlier, which is from episode 1. yes, watching Jake's dwarf in the daytime was, pardon me, I'm going to have a little water.
Have a little water.
Which is to say that, I might say which is to say too much.
You're allowed to say as much as you want.
So Sandy is highly visible, looking gorgeous like a starlet in daytime by the pool.
Asking him out.
By the pool. But this
Like
is that is her mode as watcher. Jake's mode as watcher is exactly inverse or opposite. She's day, he's watching at night.
He lurks.
She is in a bright red swimsuit at some point. She is visible. He is in the shadows. She, with that swimsuit, she looks great on her. He somehow, they motherfucking dressed this beautiful man Grant show to look like a goddamn goober with this, like no kind of flattering deep V and a backwards hat, which I just have issues with. So anyways, this is how Jake pops into the story, and he keeps inserting himself into Sandy's story and not doing her much better for it.
No, he inserts in order to bug her because he, up until this point, ignores her. Like since we've been introduced to the Sandy and Jake dynamic, clearly they hooked up at one point. She was more into it than him, and he like doesn't ever give a reason why they don't date. He just is like, oh, you know us, we're the same. And she's like, that's so interesting because I keep showing up places with food for people and helping people out and not taking credit for it. So I don't know how we are the same. She doesn't say that.
Well, she's like tricked her because she will feed some of that back to him. She's
genuinely nice. She's a person who 9 times out of 10 shows up near the end of the story and goes, hey, I told everybody about your problem and I threw a surprise party together for you. She's constantly doing that. So I think the minute she starts his whole thing is anytime there's another man involved, he's like, whatever. I guess you're just dating him now. And she's like, oh my God, can you save me from him? And he's like, ugh, I know you think I'm jealous. And she's like, oh wow, I'm going to have to die before this man thinks that I'm actually, good at. So he's just such a meathead about everything. And then the minute he can smell that he might be able to punch somebody, then that's when he's like...
the shortest distance between the two.
Exactly, that's what
that's
it is.
That's what Captain Melrose is. Jake likes to
100%.
resolve things with violence, especially when they're not about him.
100%.
I guess it's just more of the bad mythologizing, the bad messages that is something. Because yes, I was confused by the things he was saying kind of made no sense, and part of his you
keep thinking he's like you.
Yeah, that is. And so, but actually, let's skip whatever I was going to babble about. And I think part of the answer to your question, has he ever done anything purely selfless?
Yeah,
is probably no, because the times he wasn't punching someone, it was the attention thing, which is also something I miss about him. Mm-hmm. is that need for attention. He yo-yos Sandy. If she's into him, he's distant, and if her life's going okay, suddenly he's around her like a smell.
Yeah, exactly. He's terrible. He's the biggest F-boy of all times. And he's the model for it. And if you've ever been a woman who's been in some sort of work setting and you make a suggestion and suddenly the guy off in the corner goes, well, why do we do this? And you're like, wow, he just said it louder than me and in a more aggressive way.
My God.
I've been saying this all episode long. Yeah, that's what it is. He's the one, well, now I care.
It's,
thanks, Jake.
He is not only vindication, but he is validation.
Yes. He's a great example.
Sorry.
He's the great example of how to center yourself when someone else is the victim.
I have the words at least believe Sandy, but
no one believes.
What was I thinking?
What were you thinking?
Two punches and a death threat. Maybe we should just underline that he commits a crime. He climbs a fence to walk into a place on private property he's not supposed to be and initiate a physical altercation and then deliver a death threat. He
does to the man what the man did to Sandy, and then what ends up happening? Sandy has to fix everything. And she has to
Out
go...
of the goodness of her heart, to your point.
Out of the goodness of her heart. And by the way, yeah, she didn't need to do it. And she did something way more courageous that Jake could never do. She went to his place of work. She looked his manager in the eye and said, this is what this man did to me. And that is way more effective than anything. I mean, also, Jake, when you were like saying the thing about the climbing over the fence, it's the same damn thing as that guy like breaking and being like, oh, she's gonna love these roses. You're like, oh my God, nobody ever listens to what she wants.
Okay, tied that up with a bow. I feel like want to talk briefly about I have to know bad friends / bad people. Just the garbage like. Jake not being a good friend to Sandy. Really, any point, like, just sort of surface level, I'm protecting you now. You must be comforted by this.
I'm protecting you. I'm going to leave you in my apartment and go run off. Yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah, that's another one.
You know, if it's a horror movie, she probably would have been dead. I mean,
straight up.
I don't even want to get into in Jake's meager defense. Fuck that. But Rhonda, give the creep a chance, kind of. But like... Have we lingered long enough on the part where they bring Paul to Shooter's, Sandy's place of work, and then they're like, there's some surface level thing. He did a good deed for the halfway house. I might want to talk about that a little, but
I forgot about that.
And that has earned him a round of drinks. Only, oh no, Matt can't buy him the drink because Matt's got to bring Rhonda to the airport. They drop him. They drop this stalker ass motherfucker off at her place of work, and then tell him, "Oh, by the way, she's all alone."
I do have to say at a certain
point, like friendship. What is friendship?
I kind of almost don't blame the guy because, like, literally, the uphill battle. Because what happens is
he's not getting the messages just from society. He's getting them from all the people around him.
100%. Because here's what. Can I tell you this? I'm Paul, right? Let me put myself in Paul's shoes. I'm like saying to myself. I didn't have a lot of great information growing up about relationships. I don't feel like I got good guidance. You know what? I see this lady. I'm going to talk to her. And, she seems a little uncomfortable. You know what? I'm just going to keep going for it. I show up to her apartment. I interact with the people at her apartment. Surely, if there's a line that has been crossed, I'll sense it from her neighbors' reactions, her friends, they're close. I can't say that I'm super confident that I'm making the best choices, but Jesus Christ, if everybody isn't co-signing my bullshit at every turn. And, like, she's the only one. Now, I know she's the most important person in the situation, and she's the only one saying this is bad. And she says it pretty emphatically, but goddamn if literally everybody else isn't saying that I should try harder.
Including incomprehensible to me from Jake.
Yes, Jake. Keep going. He goes,
I guess this is how Sandy is.
What?
What? Finish the sentence, you jerk.
Oh, I just would love if, like, if he had ever said, like, when he was, like, locking her up in his apartment, like, oh, I don't know where this came from, this guy. I mean, I just said, I guess just how Sandy is. And her being like, are you, oh my God, stop for a second.
I'm hiding out in another apartment now.
I'm going to need you to tell me everything you told this man. Because it's going to probably give me clues as to what he's going to do next. Because you keep putting ideas in his head, mister. Oh my gosh.
So I think we are finding depths in the A story that I just wanted to write off as an issues.
Oh my goodness.
We're finding...
There's still a big piece that I want to get back to that I can't let go.
My thing is just horror story for Sandy. Like, literally, she hears footsteps. She's in the dark, alone, terrorized.
Oh, God, yes.
But right. In a way, there's
he won't even walk her home.
No,
he says,
yeah.
That's the other gender.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. But like, really, here's the thing that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it often, but every time I see that fucking motorcycle next to the pool, I am like, you're such an asshole. You know there was a pool party like a day ago, and there's just
was playing volleyball along with them. He's polluting his own motherfucking pool.
His own pool. No,
I'm trying to sing.
That was appropriate.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Because the other thing the other thing I will say to that is, yes, it's right by the pool. I mean, this is a guy who is literally the version of he shits exactly where he eats. That is his favorite thing to do. He slept with Sandy as soon as he moved into the complex. Boom, we'll put my motorcycle right by where everybody gathers together in the pool constantly. And Another thing, guys, I don't even care if this is a spoiler. You find out later this asshole has a garage. And so
it's
literally
kind of an
a
obsession
spot
for us
around the
as
corner
viewers.
where I'm only pointing this out now because it is so obnoxious to have your, and then
the garage will come around as if it's a retcon. And yet it has been mentioned at least once, I think, and it's in almost every episode just there.
But yeah, it's because he only does it sometimes, and he only really does it when he wants you to know that he's special. But yeah, that motorcycle, I can't get past it.
You need to give seminars that wolf thing, because honestly, what is he doing but marking territory?
Yeah, and it's not real.
And really, in a way, what was his thing with Paul other than showing he was the bigger, badder wolf?
Yeah, it's, you know what it is? It's colonizer bullshit. It's like, I have to dominate you, and you're like, because okay, this is a tangent, but I feel like it's applicable. So we got very into this show Alive. I think did you guys get into it too? I can't remember. It's people surviving in the wilderness with like literally alone, 3 tools or whatever. Every single person who they showed who chose to go with a gun could not hack it. They could not sleep the night because they were like, something's going to kill me. There was this lady who was like, oh, this bear lives down the river, so I better just stay out of its way. And she was fine. And here's the thing. Jake does not know how to coexist. He has to dominate. He's got to be, and like, it's that mentality of like, I'm the only one who can make Sandy feel like shit. Bop! You know what I mean? And so it's that idea of like, I have to own this. I have to, like, no one, I remember when that lady goes, oh, I just better stay out of that bear's way. I was like, I never thought about that. And then, so guess what? She's not scared. So she's not emanating a fear thing. So the bear's never going to come over. Because there was like all this salmon downstream. And I just was like, oh, man, if everybody could just stay out of the way of the bears, they wouldn't feel the need to like punch people all the
time. You are a wise woman. We are, nature scares us a little.
Hey, appropriately. You have respect for it.
Yeah, like the lessons they're learning on Alive, we would just be like, don't go there. I mean, I don't know. We need it. I'm glad it exists. I'm an inside kid grown up into an inside middle-aged man.
The bear's a metaphor for anything.
Oh, no, I know this. That's why I'm saying you're a wise woman
right?
from drawing this. I just mean literally the viewing experience. We don't need to talk about that.
Oh my God.
Have we covered the Lane B-story enough? I mean, I'm wrong.
The thing I do love about it, though, is it is a perfect, tiny, like, mini movie of their relationship. That is not a spoiler. That is a fact. Because in a way, so much happens, and yet so little happens.
This is the stasis that is, I think, a pre-Amanda problem. Because once a man is there, shit's changing all the... I mean, like, Billy never changes as a human being except for something, briefly. But, like, otherwise, it's like, who's on top? Who's going to... It's going to be... It's fun. And this is just like, a woman has a shitty car... she wrangles with selling it or not, and she ends up not selling it. And she, in between, I suppose, learned the lesson not to become overly invested. But nothing really changes.
Here's the scene we need to write. We need to write the scene where everybody from all the storylines get down together at Shooters, and they talk about, like, what a shitty day they've had. And you just see Allison somehow managing to tell Sandy that her day was worse. And, like, you could not tell Allison otherwise. Like, Sandy could have been kidnapped at that point, and Allison would be like, yeah, but that old lady was a real bitch.
I think that's all we need to say about that, actually. Like, it's just so true. I want to see that scene just to hear the pivots. The way Allison pivots. It's like, he broke into your room? Well, that's kind of how I felt when that woman said that my car is rusted underneath. I mean, what does she know? I worked for 3 summers to get that car.
I have to say...
Does everyone see why I lost my virginity in this car?
I have to say, again, this will not be a spoiler. There will come a time where you think it is impossible to think poorly of this woman. And she will show you that you can still hate her. Even you can, and
She
weirdly,
defies sympathy.
she defies sympathy.
She defies sympathy.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to.
I feel like that's a delightful button.
Fuck that shit. Okay, we like to talk about fashion when we talk about Melrose Place, and I think the first one that's really notable is that Sandy, in her hybrid outfit, I think this is how she encounters Paul when he insinuates
She's very anti-pants this episode.
He insinuates the pool party, and she shows up wearing overalls on top and why don't you talk on it? In fact, like I don't even know. It's a skirt. No, it's a dress.
It's a Mancini original.
It was definitely a
Mancini
original
oh.
because it's a mashup. It's a terrible mashup that's unflattering on a woman that's probably hard to not flatter.
Well,
tell me what you think.
I agree with you. You know what? I love that we are, bringing the Mancinis into the conversation because they're not there a lot, but they're pretty impactful when they are there. Because it is a Mancini original that Sandy's wearing. It is a denim overall top that has been deconstructed, and the bottom part has been made into a skirt. And the way you know it's a Mancini signature design is it really does add a thickness to any part of your body that you really would prefer not to look thicker. It's just the Mancini design is about the mystery of what is this person's actual shape underneath. Like, we will never know because it's 3 dresses that have been pieced together, no rhyme or I just feel like Jane just seems like she doesn't give a shit. Like, these outfits are bananas. It's really just like it seems like she wants to get credit for having just put something together. The outfits are bonkers. Oh, her shirt is crazy too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's an argument about that shirt that I lost, and I'm okay saying that aloud.
You were tricked. You were misled.
Okay, but like gonna throw something here real brief that just occurred to me, and we might have even hit this note before, but like pregnant Jane, just everything's maternity wear. Then
I forgot that she's
pregnant. Is that it? Is it? I mean, like. She wouldn't be uniquely self-centered among Melrose Place characters, but maybe it's just an expression of that in that mode
that she's
like that if Sandy had a baby bump,
I will say
it would be covered by what she wore.
That's not without merit. However, we've seen her dresses before. Before she was pregnant, she was making these insane, and they're not. And
funky
here's the
evening
thing:
wear.
I am not angry at a muumuu.
Oh,
I love a flowy caftan-like situation. She is like she manages to rob all of the joy out of a flowing fabric. And it really is just dress barn. Like, she takes 2 dress barn dresses and like sews them together and is like, you can't get mad at me. I made something new.
I'm sure there's a lot of metaphors to that, but it's funny to me because it's literal addition in your face.
Yes.
And it is always less than the sum of its parts.
It really is.
Did I just say a koan? Is that what you say?
What
that's like a Zen, when I think you think about sort of a paradox or a thing that can't be answered, and that kind of like, that's you get a meditative state that way, I think.
Oh.
If I am glossing that poorly, well, maybe we'll find out and cut it out, but if we don't, I'll take the heat in the
you take
below
that heat.
Because I don't mean to misrepresent anything, but that's my knowledge of it. Jake was in a thermal in hot weather. I don't know if that.
Oh,
what does that say about Jake, Lisa?
Thank you for asking. I don't understand because he is either in a tank top or long sleeves.
I mean, it's Seattle, by the way. It's a signifier, but it's fucking stupid and
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You're so right. Back then, the flannel shirt thing was big. I mean, was it at night? Because I would say it does get very cold.
No, Sadie was making breakfast. That's because that's what we're going to get to next, and more importantly is
I forgot about the cantaloupe.
We're going
to the melon.
You know what? Let's see. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's do that because there's a nice pivot there. After we talk about that fucking shirt,
Jane's shirt.
Oh my god!
Wayne.
I hate it thoroughly.
I
I hated it when I thought it was what it wasn't,
Oh.
and I hate it more for being what it is.
Now
The
I can't unsee what you thought it was.
So there's a breakfast, Jake, Sandy, and police come for Jake because he committed crimes, and the Mancinis show up to see what's going on, what's good at Shane Jake, where Sandy is.
They run in.
We'll talk about it pantsless. But Jane Mancini walks in this goddamn monstrosity of a shirt that I swear it fakes you out into thinking there's a cardigan involved, listeners. And like also a very like Lisa, I think I ran out of steam. The argument was I thought it was I don't even want to like you agree, Conan?
It's an optical illusion.
It's I thought it was a cardigan. I wouldn't use that word, or you said
what's the word?
Drape, but
A cape?
So I was
Cardigan,
wrong.
right?
I was wrong. It's one garment. I thought it was two, and it's just that there's texture, and it's awful. Lisa, talk on it. I'm
You
done.
know, I will say it reminds me. It's evocative of the like Versace 90s over the top Miami, like multiple things.
Maximalist.
Yes, and it's so funny because I never saw the cardigan optical illusion before, and now that you've said it, I can't unsee it.
It's killing me.
Because it's weird. It's like a lot of patterns, but also, and the funny thing is, I actually think it'd be very chic today. I feel like a lot of kids would like it's kind of on trend, honestly. I could see that shirt cut off in here.
Like ironic-ish.
No. Like,
No, yeah.
are you on the Vogue Instagram? Honestly, if
No,
you like cut,
no, I'm-
if you were to cut, oh, that's where I get all my videos. If you were to cut it,
forgot.
like I could see it. No, it's very confused. I mean,
I don't like it still though.
It's
I mean,
very
I
confusing.
see what you're saying. I have at times assumed people who are dressed in that manner were dressing ironically, and I'm
Migos. My tia Combi, my great aunt would love that shirt with a bunch of gold rings and some gold jewelry. Oh my gosh!
Okay, so it's maximalist.
It's over the top,
So-
decadent, and it's Versace.
So tell me,
it's very.
is it too much angst I have for this? I don't mean to cut you off. I want to be done with my issue and really get to the heart of
It is. You know what it is? Listen, you didn't watch the original Melrose Place because you were too
it
cool
was
for
not
school.
in context.
I was never
Yes.
too cool for school, and also like I had a grandmother who wore gold lame shoes all the time, and those were her fancy shoes. She was someone who said to me, I was like, oh, I don't want to wear yellow gold. It's like so gaudy. And she was like, why are you wearing all this silver? I gave you all this gold. And I was like, I don't know. I like silver. I don't want to like mix it up. She's like, it's easy. One side you wear silver, the other side you wear gold. She was like, you should wear all your jewelry all the time, which is why
I appreciate
I
that.
feel like I understand this shirt a little bit. But the
I
cardigan thing, I never saw that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's confusing.
Lisa, I love your grandma.
Oh, you know, she loved a gold lame situation.
All right, I think we've dispensed with I feel better now. So yes, here's what I was going to call a pivot. So Sandy, as a thank you for whatever Jake did that was dumb, makes him breakfast in his house, wearing his shirt and no pants.
And those eggs are
Well,
way cooked. The cantaloupe's insanity.
well then let's just say this much: in the household here with producer Ilana and myself, we have a few just ironclad rules, and one of them is wear pants when you cook for someone else. If you want to expose your thighs to splatter damage, I hope you don't. But that's your
That's
if you're
horrifying.
making something for yourself, have fun. Not it's barbaric.
I've also
It's
seen how these people cook.
kind of nasty. Lisa,
So dangerous.
if you want to talk on that, or let's just talk about the weird shit she was serving pantsless.
Oh, so much happening. First of all, I used to iron things when I had an office job. And I would, because you're ironing pants, you're pantsless ironing. I have accidentally burned my legs so many times ironing pantsless that it has never occurred to me to risk cooking pantsless because it's so scary and dangerous, and also the presumption is that that's Jake's button-up shirt she's dressed in.
Oh, for sure.
I don't believe he owns a shirt like that. We've seen his shirts. It's a wife beater and a thermal situation. Maybe a plaid.
Yeah, wasn't it flannel?
No, it was a brown, like, I noticed it was weird. It was a brown sort of like, probably polyester, cotton poly blend, I'm guessing. And it was not his size. It was way too big.
It was big.
It was a very much like, hey, let's set up a rom-com situation. But you and me, we're very distracted because she's frying eggs. And I'm so scared for her thighs because, oh man, he is not going to take you to the hospital. He has a motorcycle. He can barely take care of himself. Why does he have a surfboard? I mean,
you can't
come on.
take a, like, how does that work? I'm okay. So I do have one more thing to say about the pantslessness, and that is that the convention of the time was that was a signal that people had fucked the night before, but we know they didn't.
No, and she had to have gone into his closet and looked for his only button-up shirt. Put that on. I mean, it's crazy. It doesn't make sense.
And as little as Jake helped, and as much as he kind of actively harmed or indirectly harmed, she is grateful to him at the end of the episode.
Oh yeah.
And this is also, we're heading towards another moment of their relationship in the next episode. We watched ahead, spoilers, but like. It's almost like is she planting the thought in his head, maybe, like, remember this? I mean, like, she did remember this. They had the conversation. Something else I don't believe is that they talked all night.
No. I mean, listen.
Jake could never talk all night to any person. He doesn't, that's not part of his manliness.
Well, I'm just saying the whole thing doesn't make sense because in order for her to be wearing this shirt, the whole presumption of they slept together is I'm wearing the shirt that ended up on the floor because you came home from work and you were so passionate that you unbuttoned your shirt and put it on the floor. Instead, they did not have sex. She went through his closet, went to the back part of it because we know Jake does. That's part's crazy. Number one.
It's the work of a maniac, but maybe maniac like a fox, that maybe this Jake's like, oh yeah, like the talking about fucking didn't do it, but seeing her in the uniform post-fuck, even though gosh knows where the shirt came from.
Oh no, I'm saying I'm saying she fully didn't do that. I'm saying this is what the writers don't realize, that like this is now what it. That's the reality of that.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Number two, the cooking by the stove for me. Yes, you could burn yourself, but also, ma'am, those eggs did not take that much work. And yet you sliced open a cantaloupe, dropped it on the table, and spent all your time at the stove. Could you have maybe done something more with the cantaloupe rather than just
smaller pieces? Like there's two more slices.
Yeah,
you're done.
Yeah, just the cantaloupe was nuts. That was
very. It ate up the scene once you notice it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had never seen it prior to that.
I'm sorry. I feel like maybe I wasn't listening to you enough about this thing.
Oh no, you're fine.
I was in a rabbit hole of sexual.
No. What
stuff.
I think happens is you just start giving credit to the writers of having created the situation, and I'm pointing out, hey, if this is what we now know about this character, that doesn't make any sense. That she would have had. Yeah. She would have had to go in his closet and do that. That's crazier than the stalker, right? Because if all of a sudden, okay, I just want to ask you.
Hey, I just got one completely. Do you mind?
I'm behind.
I'm vibing this.
You get it?
Fuck in world. What happens in reality is costuming Amy Locane.
Thank you.
In a shirt that will fit Grant's show is indecent for television.
Yes.
It would not cover enough And for whatever reason, this is the choice that she's going to be pantsless.
So it makes her
with
look
breakfast.
crazy.
Right.
It makes her look worse than the stalker because listen, that's what I'm saying is if you're in world in this reality, then that means that she has spent a whole time telling Jake, this man is too invasive. He broke into my home. He put petals in my thing. And then she goes, I need a shirt to wear. Oh, he wore this once to his cousin's wedding and it was too big. And then you're like, okay, if I'm following the reality of this, then they laid in a bed next to each other, did not sleep together. She has her clothes there. But she goes, no. Let me go in here. So yes, exactly. That's
and the
why
rest of her clothes are upstairs and ostensibly safe.
Yes, he could have just gone with her to get them. But yeah, no, that's why it's like they're trying so hard.
I'm doing a lot of contortions.
Yes,
I
you're
didn't cut
giving
you
credit.
off, but
No, but I love when you got it. Because it is like, that's where my brain was like going, oh, like they've made her look crazy.
Lisa, is it hard to be right all the time?
I wouldn't know.
But when it's wrong, it's still so right.
The thing is, everyone gets very angry at you. So when you're wrong, it's actually kind of nice.
I get it. We didn't. This might pass us by in this viewing, but Jake is still stealing people's beers at Shooters. I think that's part of his encouragement of Paul. I'm looking to produce like right in front of the table where it's going to too, and those guys don't seem to mind. But yeah, he swipes 2 beers off not Sandy's tray, I think, and that's the beer he shares with Paul.
Oh my god.
Like,
I didn't
again,
even catch that.
We didn't underline it, but trust me, it happens.
Oh my god! No, I believe you because
like
he does it all the time.
But what a dick. Okay, fuck it. Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about Billy, but he was an asshole throughout.
Yeah, he was very consistent.
He was. He insinuates himself into her situation. He insults her a lot. He says he's going to negotiate on her behalf. It sounds like it's a plot rehashing, but I'm coming around to a point.
No.
She didn't want him to come car shopping,
No.
and he was going to act as her advocate. And where he ends up is like, come on, just buy the car. Like she's now wasted his time. And like, listen, guys, I am not a negotiator by nature. I'm someone who only later along can ask for what he wants sometimes. But I know that, it's just like cliche, your leverage, if you will, as the advantage you have as on a car lot is you can walk off of it. And he's just like, it's now or never, Allison. Vocal fart noise.
He basically gangs up on her with this car. Like, he's like, hey,
Benedict Arnold, motherfucker.
I feel like Billy's so dumb that he's like, hey, Allison, we're going to do this thing. I'm going to do, like, good cop, bad cop. But, like, he gets it all mixed up, and he goes, I thought he and I were supposed to gang up on you. I got all confused. Like, I could see that. He's so dumb. Oh, I really do love this whole interaction. Because also, the thing that you really point out is, again, Billy and Jake we're kind of supposed to believe that they're, like, good guys. Like, that's the whole, like, if we're looking at this from the lens of, like, wrestling or soap opera, like they're quote unquote heroes, but their
faces. If this show, as it comes along, is a bit about what a '90s woman is. Yes. These are our '90s young men. These are our '90s men. Is grunge Jake, violent man, and self-centered Billy Valley Boy asshole.
They're both like these two, like upholding these two things where Jake is like violence is always the answer at a certain point, and with Billy it's lying is okay if you need to / want to. And so the Billy lying, where he misrepresents himself, where he wants Allison to misrepresent herself. The thing about Allison is, I feel like she's less of a liar and more of just a stone cold manipulator. Like, I don't think she feels the need to lie. She's like, you should just do this for me because my problems are the biggest. And so Billy I do feel like that is a theme you see with Billy throughout the entire series. Is like he's portrayed as like this good guy, but you're like, when you look back, you're like, this man has been. He pretended to be a taxi driver. He pretended to be
get
a
laid.
dance
instructor. In a way, in reality, he pretended to be a cabbie in order to get laid.
In order to get laid, yeah. If you think about it.
Let's talk about that next week. Go ahead.
But yeah, like it's funny to see, like he is really. I mean, he's more schemy than Mr. Michael Mancini.
So far.
He
is the schemiest person on this because
he starts off scheming.
Yeah, son of a bitch.
It's wild. So yeah, it's funny to see how it really is pretty consistent.
and here's the part, and let's almost call it bookends, where I admit to relating to one of our shitty protagonists.
Hey.
Well, actually, Paul's the antagonist. Strike that. But one of our shitty characters, Billy, ends the episode consoling himself, I guess, with ice cream and M&Ms, watching Nosferatu, because it's free to use, probably. But it's a thing they'll carry through. He loves the horror movies. But, like, seeing him like a child just tucking into that ice cream with M&Ms on it, I was like, yeah, I've been there. I've been that. Billy's food issues are a little bit my food issues, but which is, like, funny because, you know, compare our physiques, but anyways.
Oh, that's so funny. I had never noticed Billy eating, but you're right. I mean, everybody does have like crazy eating. I mean, I'm still the way these people cook
this
eggs.
This is Billy. What if I need to eat your peanut butter?
Oh my God, you're so right.
And that was, to the credit of the makers of this show, absolutely something they planted in.
He is a little stress eater, isn't he?
He's a stress eater.
I didn't even catch that.
Like, you know, for Andrew's shoe's sake.
I saw that lying.
That's where the emotions go.
You gotta eat it.
I haven't eaten those feelings, to be frank, because I can't handle them in the moment, but at all. But I felt, you know.
I like this.
I want there to be a world where Andrew's shoe got tired of staying in that shape, which probably wouldn't be a thing because he's a soccer player, and the soccer he loves doing keeps him in that shape. But like, just to like basically be like, guess what, guys? All that eating Billy's been doing has caught up with him. That's what we're doing this season.
Well, Andrew's shoe's kind of going through it right now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry, but
and
if anybody has a peanut butter you want to send his way, maybe don't fight
a peanut butter for Andrew. Extra of the week this week.
Oh my God.
If you, the listener, would like to view along with us, in particular, this if you queued up to 43:15 in the episode,
I think I know who you're talking
of Melrose
about.
Place, there's a shooter's waitress. I don't know if we ever see her again, but boy, do we see her this time, because it's
so
not
featured.
How she looks; it is the look on her face. She is embodying despondency to such a level that it's like a more genuine emotion that anyone has shown in the episode this side of Sandy's struggle.
You are completely correct, because an LA waitress, that woman gives you all the emotion and feeling that you would get from a legit LA waitress who's like, I just can't do this one more day.
She does work at a bar where her co-worker's ex will sometimes just take the beer off your tray.
Multiple
that you
beers.
He's undoing your job for you like a real son of a bitch.
And don't worry, when your business goes under, he'll buy it.
Jake the entrepreneur has yet to emerge, but keep your eyes posted, folks. Right now he's just mad that there's no construction work, I think.
Who knows what he does.
So, what in our tradition do you think is the worst thing that Alison did in this episode?
Oh, that is a great question. I have to agree with Ilana. She named her car Betsy. Like, what a lame-o. Like, you work in advertising. You can't even brand your car correctly. That's so lame.
And if I do your thing and take it out of world, it was an
Please.
act of laziness on the writers' part. And I don't think they were like, oh, let's make Allison. I mean, Allison is super basic, but I don't think that was ever a conscious thought in anyone's head.
I think
that
you're
they
absolutely
would.
right.
In fact, they kind of want to make her quirky, the Captain Crunch thing, to get back to food.
Oh yeah.
And just like it's almost the same thing. What stuck with us is her as little concern or respect as Billy deserves. He deserves better than being shown where Allison lost her virginity, which is the back seat of Betsy.
Oh yeah, that's.
It's part and parcel to the Betsiness of it all, because of course.
I don't think he asked. Did he ask her?
No, this
It
was
very
part of
unprompted,
her.
right? Producer Chris is shaking his head emphatically. No, he did not ask that.
If you wanted to pretend there were a story to the B-story, it's that Allison learns to let go of Betsy.
Oh, yes,
And
that's
then runs her ass off after a motherfucking tow truck. Like, put it down! I can't leave Betsy! And it's partially about the money for the convertibles too much, but like, it's stasis is what it is. Producer
She's
Ilana.
the worst.
Allison is the worst.
She really is. She really. I mean, again, she wasted all of our time.
Yeah, maybe Billy should have been.
Really, it was a waste of our time. You didn't even. If I didn't know, you could have just gotten it repaired. I hate you. What a waste. You made me not mad at Billy.
Billy and car repairs. Stick around for next week. Producer Ilana's gonna come along.
Oh, here we go.
She's gonna bring the quotations.
I like it.
Okay.
I love how it's like 4 choice.
To really attend to the gender binary or something,
Why
I'll
not?
ask you to cover the first one. I didn't write the context, but I think it speaks for itself. This is Allison to Billy.
Every time I trust you, something terrible happens. Oh,
So
girl,
true.
buckle up.
I mean, he's already kidnapped her, right?
Oh my God, you're right.
So I'm gonna do Bill. So I'll tell you what stuck with me on this after I do it. But Billy says this to Allison, and at this point he's ragging on her, and he's now quoting an imaginary therapist. Has problems forming male-female relationships, so substitutes relationships for mechanical devices, like her car. Okay, she says, "Thank you, Sigmund Freud," but that's a vibrator joke, and Billy didn't know it.
Not even close. The way he delivers that line, he's like, she's really in love with her car.
It's like phonetic English meets just someone told you go be an arrogant jerk.
I don't believe he understood what happened in Nosferatu. I've never seen this man write. When we get to the scene, because I have a picture of it, when you finally get to see the poem that he writes, once we see some of his work, I mean, you're like, oh.
This is what he's invested all of his ego in.
Oh, this is the thing. This is why he eventually... I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it.
And we have already heard his stupid column about his adventures in LA.
Oh my God.
But then the magazine immediately folded. Like it's sort of like they invented a storytelling device they could come back to, and then we're like, nah, fuck it. And fine, it sucked.
He leaves a wake of mystery businesses behind him.
I am ranting, and I'm not crazy about it. This I just have as Sandy for truth.
I'm living in a building of voyeurs. Actually, enablers.
Certainly onlookers without taking action when it should be prompted. And this is another one. I get to surprise myself because my brain's messed up. So finally, this is Billy to Allison. And again, you kind of don't need the context. I know this sounds modest, but I think my coming into your life was really fortunate for you. Of course you think that, Billy.
I can't believe you think that sounds modest. It's literally immodest.
No, he says, maybe I follow the line. The fact that I know this sounds immodest.
Oh,
I know
immodest.
this sounds immodest
Oh my
is what he
gosh.
says. I'm sorry. I'm not the actor, but my point, it's like, it's classic Billy. Like,
also,
like
immodest is a very like generous description of. I know that this makes me sound like a crazy person who thinks that I'm the most important thing to happen to you ever, but
that's just.
I think that's the truth.
That's just who I am.
No, it is like saying.
I'm such.
You might watch out. You might get wet, and it's because there's a monsoon outside. That's how immodest. That's the immodest is to Billy as, hey, grab an umbrella. It's a little wet outside, and then it's just a sheet of water hits you, basically.
Because I don't even know what he's implying he's taught her. Right?
I mean, well, it goes back to the vibrator joke, and that's again stupid. Right. I'll never fall in love with an inanimate object again, Billy. Thank you. You made me a wiser woman for this.
And he's like, I don't know, me and that computer are getting real close.
I had a lot of fun with that. I think that's... Is there anything else to say? I should pose it that way. Lisa, you might have something else on your mind.
No, I think we covered everything.
I think we squeezed the juice out of the cantaloupe.
I mean, I don't think I can top that.
Thank you for listening to all who listen. Again, just screaming into a void without you. Really hope you enjoy. Really hope you'll stick with us. We will be back 2 Sweets with Season 1, Episode 9. And spoilers, it's a hate watch for me.
Yeah.
Come back for that, I guess. Lisa, cheers.
Cheers.
You want some more coffee?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Always.
Always.
You're right. This is madness.